So I think there's two really important ways that we can look at this because of how far we've come in this practice. So one is let's really look at things as synthesis, as let's really for a moment imagine that all of the words that we just used are erroneous because they all imply a degree of separation. Like we know that. It's intellectually very easy to do. But in the moment, the practice is what takes it from an intellectual exercise to an experiential exercise. And Donna pointed that out. And that's it. That's the bridge that crosses the divide. We've talked about that. But it's also really interesting that the mind still continues to parse it out the next chance it gets. So the biggest thing that we're parsing out, or I think the most fundamental thing that we tend to parse out is mind, body, spirit. Wouldn't you agree? Isn't that something that we commonly like? We want to talk about how they're all one. We're all one, man. Yeah. Intellectually, that's super easy to say. Trillion. Just said it. I understand it. Super easy to say. But what are we even really talking about? So, one example. So, how you are emotionally, because you are always emotionally. Do we agree on that? At all points, you are expressing some sort of emotion. Is this true or is this false? No
True.
matter no true, right? Yeah, there's some sort of you feel yourself like any all experience has some sort and again, emotion. What is that? We're trying to separate so that we can talk about it, but really we shouldn't. Like not in an experiential way, we don't need to. I wouldn't say shouldn't. We just don't need to necessarily. So let's just put that back. Let's put that back. There is no difference between emotion and feeling. There's no difference between spirit and physical. There's no difference between mind and body and spirit and up and down and left and right, in or out. The mind just wants to do that so it can navigate. I get that.
Yeah, but it's such a great shortcut. Like this is just having a light bulb moment for me. Like
Mm.
it never occurred to me. I check in with my balance all the time. I've been doing it since we started class, but it never occurred to me to go mind, body, spirit. Like where do I feel the pull in any one direction? And that's how I can identify imbalance maybe more quickly instead of just my worry about whether I'm balanced or not, or concerned whether I'm paying close enough attention, which is seems to be the root of Ida's question. Oh, this
Mhm.
is technology and this is my art, and I'm looking at how many likes and who's liking it. So that seems like it could be a slippery slope, which is true. It could be. Those are the destroyer areas, right? But to check in mind, body, spirit, even though those aren't separate, it's all just that yin and yang kind of thing. It's a shortcut to going where is the imbalance? Where do I feel the imbalance? So this is really helpful. I'm
Absolutely.
sorry to interrupt you because you're
No, it's okay.
explaining it in more detail, but yeah, it's really helpful.
Well, that just takes it to the next step. What do we do? What do we, so am I like, oh, I have to check my emotions. Okay, I'm gonna fix my emotions. I'm gonna work on my emotions and do my emotional stuff. And I'm feeling this, I'm gonna try to emotionally feel that. And it's like, all right, well, we're doing it again. Experientially, we're doing it again now. It's not just concept. The conceptually we've parsed things out, but now experientially we're trying to engage the world around us in a one-dimensional way. One thing we're trying to, I'm going to improve my emotions. I'm going to go in here and try to improve my body. I'm going to do my exercises. And it makes sense, right? Because that's how you do, experientially, that's how you do it. But again, we're starting the degrees of separation. And that's okay. We work with that dynamic. Ego is one of those degrees of separation. There's no such thing. Not really. I mean, but what is talking about ego? Well, first of all, we have to define ego. And that's a funny thing to do. The brain is noticing the brain. Okay, so I think it's important to talk about what we do with it. And that would have been the second aspect that this group, I think, is capable of discussing is like, all right, so what do we do when we're able to check in and we're able to see that when any one of these are out of balance, they're all out of balance. It's not a one thing or an other thing. It's all of them are in some way. Your physical is creating your emotional and your physical are generating your psychological, your physical, your emotional are all interacting with the spiritual at all times, every day. From for the your entire existence it has been this way. And they're all interacting with one another at all times. So sure, how we feel is a synthesis of all of that at all times. You can't exclude the body. You can't exclude the hormones and reactions that your body's having to your own body, and then, of course, to the world around you. That is all happening all at once every single day, whether you're aware of it or not. And so, in some senses, it can be erroneous, and then in other senses, it can be useful. It depends on how out of balance we are. The more out of balance we are, the more useful it actually is to parse things out and say, okay, I'm going to focus on this thing and let's get this thing. I definitely realized that this weekend. But it's also it's real easy to not see how much these things are interacting with one another. And the more that you see how they're interacting with one another, the less they're parsed out. And then the less you're thinking about it, and the more you're doing your four directions practice, because mind, body, spirit, you're engaging your body with your attention. And then, of course, there's ways, and Don Juan's principles and some of his explanations very quickly can help me recognize this thing called spirit. But when the four directions are active long enough, there are actually the degrees of separation can cease to exist. There's moments where there literally is no degree of separation until you notice that there is no degrees of separation, creating a degree of separation, noticing there's no degrees of separation. It's a funny thing that we're doing in existence, in this life experience. It's really interesting. So we have to, of course, learn to work with opposites, understand that when opposites combine, they can become a new third thing, and then we work with that new third thing. So let's just look at this. We look at something because we suspect an imbalance. Why did we suspect it? We feel it. Why do we feel it? Because whatever is out of balance is affecting our body, it's affecting our mind, it's affecting our spirit, and it's showing up emotionally. It's not just one of those, it's all of those at the same time, which, of course, in Chinese medicine, they recognized a long time ago. And biomedicine is starting to confirm, hey guys, your emotional state is impacting your health, the physical. Hey, turns out that the way that we think and the way that we move our mind affects our emotions, and then the emotions affect our body, and then our body is it goes back, and it's this cycle that's feeding itself. My physical state is now feeding my emotional state. My emotional state is, and this becomes a disharmony, and everything becomes scattered, and then the universe is like, well, shit, this is just too much, and then it just separates and it will and then like we said again it may have the opportunity to recoalesce again as something else because it's just the universe is it's constantly harmonizing. It just is a principle of the universe. It's apparent in everything. So now we have recognized that there is an imbalance because we feel it, and now because we've participated in these groups, we know that we don't necessarily need to look at one aspect of it. We have to actually take in account the whole. So when I'm feeling a certain way, how am I eating? How am I sleeping? That's a factor. Is there anything going on in my body that could be affecting my emotional state? Yes. Of course, there is. Absolutely. There is something going on in your body that is generating an emotional experience, an emotional event, and that emotional event is interacting with the non-physical at all times as well. So your Shen, your spirit is fundamentally being affected. And because the body is constantly bobbing and weaving and trying to harmonize, it's constantly emotional. It's constantly trying to communicate with itself. It's like, hey, we got to do this. Hey, we got to do that. the pancreas is sending this out, and then the spleen is sending this out, and and the whole body is doing this at all times. Fascia is doing that around the cell and around the muscles at all times. So cool. The body is constantly trying to harmonize, whether you know it or not. Dysfunction, pain, feeling icky when we have a virus. A virus doesn't make you feel icky. It has no impact on your feeling. Your body's response to that virus is what we're feeling the most, or bacteria, or whatever it is.